Okay, since we are starting this series, I thought I would do a number of pieces on introductions to stories, on how you set a story up beyond the first scene or the first words. How do you start with the title page and maybe set up the emotional dynamics of the story? So in this opening page to Peleus and Melisande, we have this character here that we see for the first time, now Gollo. In the beginning of the story, we see Gollo in the forest, and he has lost his quarry. He has shot a deer, a doe, and it has gotten away from him. He sees blood on the leaves, but cannot find the deer. It's gotten away. But immediately after that, he finds this girl weeping by the side of a lake. A small body of water there in the forest. She doesn't seem to know who she is or where she came from or how she came to be there, but someone has hurt her. So it seemed to me there was a very strong parallel between what he had been hunting and what he finds, and also as to what happens to her at the end of the story at his hands. It's all foreshadowing of that. So for the or the title and credits page, I decided to foreshadow that by starting on the top panel with the deer drinking from a stream or a small pond there in the middle of this idyllic setting. And it has Maurice Maeterlinck's Peleus and Melisande. So we see the title in this idyllic afternoon setting. Then we go into one unit of 3 panels of the deer we've just seen here coming in close up as she quickly looks up. So we start in with almost a close up and then back up as she turns her head one way, and then in the third panel turns it the other. And by the third panel we see almost the full figure of the deer. And as you'll notice, each of these panels gets narrower and also tends to speed up time when you make your panels go from wide to narrow, because you just see them quicker. So we go from long shot, narrow panels, we set that up that she's aware of danger, and then go into this graphically symbolic panel where we see her again bending down, either eating grass or drinking from the lake. And behind her, we see the hunter, who obviously has her in his sights. He's pulling the arrow back. And through that sort of graphic symbolism, we see how much more powerful a character he is at this point, or at least the danger he represents and her vulnerability. So we go from that setup to see what the danger is to the larger panel on this tier of panels as the arrow hits its mark. Right in the chest, right in the heart of the doe, and she throws her head back, and then we go into a 3-panel sequence that somewhat mirrors this 3-panel sequence here as she runs away from us, bolts into the water, across the water, and into the woods, and then disappears into the woods that we will be in the next scene, and into the shadows. And again, the panels get narrower as she gets smaller and farther into the distance. So we end that sequence and then come in for the artist credit panel. And what I've done here is to pick up on these radiating concentric circles of the water and done them as a solid black with the white lines of the water, which tends to mirror this image up here with the black. We have a lot of blacks in this panel, a lot of blacks here, that bracket this little setup, this little scene we've set up here with the story of the deer. And these radiating circles also lead our eye down through the banner and the credits, and also set up something we'll see much later, a number of times through the story at climactic points. We see the same image of water radiating, from rings falling into the water, people falling into the water, hair falling into the water. It keeps coming up. And so I've set that up on the very first page.